The story begins in a palace where the main female lead Bianca stands in front of Ricardo, and he says, "So it was you who poisoned Maria, Bianca?" Bianca replies, "That's right. If I get rid of her, everything will fall back into place." "Come to your senses, Ricardo. I'm the woman you should be with. You can't think straight because you've fallen for that cunning woman's trap. Let me save you." Ricardo clenches his sword and says, "No, Bianca. I'll save you." Bianca thinks at last, "Ricardo has finally come to his senses and is coming back to me." But in the next moment, Ricardo slashes Bianca's neck. Her eyes widen as she coughs and says, "What have you done?" She coughs again, and Ricardo says, "I will kill you so that you may never commit another sin again as your former fiancé. I'm offering you salvation." Terrified after reading the book, Bianca shouts, "This can't be real." A maid peeks from the door and says, "What's the matter, my lady?" Bianca shouts, "Get out." The maid fearfully replies, "My apologies." Bianca shouts, "What kind of book is this?" She then thinks, "Story of the Splendor Empire. I bought it thinking it was just a typical history book." The only reason why this worthless book caught my attention is because the male protagonist shares the same name as my fiancé, Ricardo. But even my name appeared later on. The only child of the Splendor Empire's distinguished Marquis and Marchioness Crawford, Bianca Crawford. Bianca realizes in shock, "I thought I'd be the female protagonist, but it turns out I'm the villainess who gets beheaded." Later, while having tea with Ricardo in the garden, Bianca says, "Isn't it a beautiful day?" Ricardo replies, "Indeed." She thinks this man is my fiancé, Ricardo Wynkaiser. He has a handsome face that complements his broad shoulders and long legs. Not only is he the heir to a renowned dukedom, but he's also a recognized swordsman. In other words, he's the perfect man. I also love his deep voice, but he's also the male protagonist in that godforsaken book. It's only natural for a perfect man like him to be the male lead. And as for me, I'm nowhere near lacking in comparison. Though we're not on par with the Wynkaiser dukedom, my family is prestigious in our own right, and I'm regarded as one of the top beauties in the empire. However, I wasn't the female protagonist. She recalls was her name, Maria. On the opposite end of the spectrum from me, the female lead was of lowly origin, revealed to be the love child of Marquis Wensbury, and had moved to the capital from the countryside. She was beautiful, but uncultured and unsophisticated. I refused to back down to a woman I've never seen or heard of. Ricardo has never treated me with warmth, but he doesn't look down on me or express hatred toward me either. He's always calm as a still lake. However, the book portrays him to be a man of passion. Above all, I couldn't stand the scenes where they passionately made love. Being the kind of person I am, I read it over and over to analyze every detail. Any other noble lady would have fainted on the spot. Noticing her state, Ricardo asks, "Bianca? Are you all right? You look flushed." She replies, "It's nothing. I have a question." He asks, "What is it?" She asks, "Under what circumstances would you kill someone?" He responds, "Probably during a war." She thinks a veteran knight who has fought in 2 wars. She asks, "When else?" He replies, "When would I kill someone outside of a war?" "Why do you want to know?" She thinks, "Because you end up killing me." In the book, Bianca couldn't accept the fact that Ricardo abandoned her. That's how much she loved him. Bianca directed her anger at Maria out of jealousy, and she was willing to kill her, if that was what it took to win Ricardo back. She says, "Never mind," but he continues, "I would only kill a person if they harm someone dear to my heart." Ricardo stands and says, "You're acting awfully strange today, Bianca. You were flushed earlier, but now you've gone pale." She wonders, is he worried about me? The Ricardo that I know? Just like how he was in the book. He then says, "You should head in early and get some rest." She immediately rejects the thought, thinking, no, that would never happen in real life. This engagement is simply an agreement between our families. Nothing more, nothing less. She says, "Of course. Safe travels." Later, Bianca goes to a bookstore to sell the book, but the seller says, "We didn't sell this book." Shocked, she replies, "What? What are you talking about? I bought it here 3 days ago. You took care of my purchase yourself." The seller insists, "No. I've never seen this book before. It doesn't even have our bookstore's marking on it. This is a book we sell in our store. When you purchase a book from us, we mark it by removing this tag. This is so we don't mistake a customer's book that they've purchased elsewhere for one of our own. Bianca scans the ledger and mutters HM. The seller adds besides, I've sold books for over 40 years now, but I've never seen a title like that before. History books typically contain the scholar's name in the title, and romance novels don't sell unless they have titles like these. Bianca thinks a slave, with a lady? Then asks, so there's no way you sold it to me? The seller replies, goodness. That's what I'm telling you. Bianca threatens, if you're lying, I'll make you pay with your life. The seller quickly responds, I would never. But she then says, but perhaps you should make a new tag. Someone could steal one of your books, rip off the tag, and insist that they bought it here. The seller considers it and says, now that you mention it, we've had more thefts lately. Rather than removing a part of the tag, you should put a marker on the tag instead. Bianca adds something that can't be copied by thieves. The seller's eyes widen as he says, I appreciate your advice, my lady. Exhausted, Bianca thinks I'm exhausted. I've been fixated on this book for days. Suddenly, a knock echoes through the door, and she says, what is it? The maid replies, Sir Wensbury is hosting a charity dinner today, remember? I'm here to help you get ready. Bianca responds, oh right, then thinks I should just forget about that book. The story is trash anyway. There's no way a gentleman like Sir Wensbury could have a love child, and why would Ricardo leave me? Just to fall in love with an illegitimate daughter? It's complete nonsense. Just look at me. The maid approaches and says, my lady, it's time to put on your shoes. Bianca looks at her and replies, are you telling me that those shoes suit my dress? The maid hesitates and says, I beg your pardon? Bianca continues, this red dress, with those white corsage shoes? The maid stammers, oh, well, and thinks, what do I do? Lady Bianca sounds furious. Bianca responds coldly, how unique. Does this child have an eye for beauty beyond my comprehension? Yet internally she thinks there must be a reason why she recommended those white shoes to go with this red dress. The maid suddenly raises her voice and says, my apologies. Please forgive me, my lady. An older maid steps in and says, I'll be sure to give her a firm warning, my lady. Bianca pauses, thinking, wait, it was just a question, then calmly says, very well. Bring me a pair of black shoes. The maid replies, yes, my lady. Bianca reflects that she knows her maids are scared of her, but she has never tried to get on their good side because it is easier when they keep their guards up. Later, everyone is seated at the dining table as Wensbury boasts, I single-handedly beheaded 33 men on the battlefield. Bianca politely replies, that's very impressive, though she thinks this is boring. I can't believe I spent 3 hours getting ready for this. She continues, your stories are always so entertaining, Sir Wensbury. He laughs, haha. Is that right? It boosts my ego to be praised by such a beautiful young lady. She responds, you have every right. You're the most famous lord in the empire, while thinking it's enjoyable, all right. The number of enemies he defeated grows every single time. I'm dying to find out how many more there will be. There were only 7 last time. Wensbury sighs, my glory days are over, while Ricardo quietly says, you're too kind. Wensbury loudly laughs, don't be so modest. You remind me of myself in my younger days, even in that aspect. As he laughs heartily, Bianca thinks, what is this old man saying? He then asks anyway, when are you planning to get married? Ricardo replies, we'll get to it eventually. Bianca recalls how she waited after her debutante ball, after he returned from war, and even after turning 20, hoping he would propose, yet 3 months have passed and he still hasn't asked. Ricardo adds, since our families made a promise, we should honor it. She reflects that noble marriages are often about alliances, not love, yet her feelings for Ricardo are real. Later in the carriage, she says, can we talk? It's about the conversation we had about marriage at dinner, while thinking he couldn't look any less interested. She continues, since it'll require many preparations, it'd be helpful if you give us advance notice. Ricardo responds, is that right? She hesitantly asks, are we going to get married? He replies, probably. Her eyes widen as she says, you don't mean to say, then urgently adds, you said you're going to marry me. He clarifies, I meant that since our families made a promise, we will do our best to honor it. She presses, isn't that still the case? The agreement between House Wynkaiser and House Crawford still stands, which means you are my fiancé. He calmly replies, no, not anymore, because we're going to break off the engagement. She freezes, thinking, I read this in the book. Trying to change things, she asks Ricardo, "Do you remember the dog you raised as a child?" He looks surprised and asks, "How do you know about that?" She says, "I heard about it." He questions from whom? She deflects, "Is that important right now?" Recalling the book, she thinks that when Ricardo saw Maria's unconditional trust, he was reminded of his childhood dog, the first being he truly loved. She then suggests, "If we get to live together, I thought it'd be nice to raise a dog of the same breed. Let's raise a dog of the same breed." Ricardo firmly refuses. "No, I refuse to do that. No dog can ever replace him. You should never try to replace someone." Frustrated, Bianca bursts in, grabs the book, and shouts, "You piece of crap." The harshest insult she can muster, then thinks, "Are you telling me this book is some sort of prophecy?" She yells, "How can I be the villainess? That's impossible. There's no way. This is ridiculous. I'm going to rip this book to shreds. Arg." But she realizes it won't rip. Then declares, "Then I'll just burn it." She throws it into the chimney, but even after 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing happens. She shouts, "What's wrong with this thing? Why won't it burn?" And realizes it won't rip or burn. It actually came out cleaner. She recalls that if the book is correct, Ricardo and Maria will meet on St. George's Day, fall passionately in love, and she will only get in the way. She mutters, "No," then thinks, "I don't want to die. I have beauty, fortune, and high social status. Why should I be the one to die? There must be a way out of this." A knock comes at the door and she says, "Come in." The old maid says, "We're here to help you get ready for the day." She replies, "Very well," while thinking she reread the book 3 more times and saw herself described as self-centered, extravagant, abusive, and convinced she was always right. When asked what she wants to wear, she casually says anything. When asked about her hair, she replies, "Just brush it," thinking, "How can a nice girl like me be a villainess? Besides, I can't help that I'm the most beautiful." When asked about gems, she says, "I'll go with the sapphire set," thinking, "What's wrong with spending my own money? Why is the book distorting facts?" When asked about shoes, she suddenly points and says, "Shoes, you." The maid nervously responds, "Yes?" Bianca says, "You said you liked those ones yesterday, right?" The maid panics, "I beg your pardon," then falls to her knees begging, "Please forgive me. Please don't fire me. My mother passed away and my father is bedridden with a leg injury. I'm the only one supporting my 5 younger siblings who are frail due to malnutrition. My youngest cries all night because he's hungry." Bianca thinks, "I didn't ask," as the maid continues, "If I get fired, our family of 7 will starve to death. I'm begging you." Bianca calmly replies, "I'll wear those shoes today. What's your name?" The maid answers, "Panya Reisold." Bianca nods, "Not bad. Very well, Panya. Since you helped me pick out a suitable pair of shoes, you can collect a silver coin from the butler." Panya gratefully says, "Thank you, my lady. I won't forget your kindness." Bianca adds also, "Tell the butler to come to my room." Panya replies, "Yes, my lady." The butler arrives and says, "Did you call for me, my lady?" Bianca replies, "I did. I need you to conduct a background check. Her name is Maria Villona. She's a commoner from a town called Unchini." The butler wonders why she is interested in a commoner, then asks, "What would you like me to find out?" Bianca says, "First, check if she exists. Also look into how old she is, what she looks like, if her mother really is sick, and if she's planning to move to the capital. Find out everything you can." The butler nods, "Yes, my lady." She adds, "And most importantly, her relationship to Sir Wensbury," thinking that since Maria is introduced as his love child in the book, she must confirm if it is true. The butler asks if she needs anything else, and Bianca replies, "Oh, this is something unrelated. Have you heard anything about my reputation?" The butler answers, "Your reputation? It's outstanding. Not only are you beautiful, you have the elegance and wisdom to match your beauty. You are the flower of Splendor Empire's high society." Bianca cuts him off, "Not that." He asks, "Then what else?" She clarifies, "I'm talking about my personality. What do my servants think of me?" The butler hesitates and says, "They all love you." She senses something off and thinks, Was there something behind him just now? Then dismisses him. "Okay, very well. You may go now." He bows, "Yes, my lady." She stops him and adds, "Oh, by the way, there's a maid here named Panya, right? Give her a silver coin." The butler replies she must have done something right. Bianca says yeah, something like that, while recalling Panya's desperate plea about her starving family and thinking blah, blah, blah. She then adds also, send her home with some leftover bread, realizing her personality is clearly not viewed positively and wondering what to do, questioning if she will become a villainess like in the book, when suddenly, the book begins glowing. Startled, Bianca steps back and thinks, is it going to explode? Wait a minute. The story changed. She realizes the book originally ended with Ricardo and Maria sharing a passionate kiss after her death, but now it continues, describing how not a single blade of grass grew near the villainess's grave, how people avoided it thinking it cursed, and how only a maid she once showed rare kindness to placed a wildflower there, which still withered away. Bianca realizes that maid was probably Panya and reflects that she has never been kind to her servants, believing paying them was enough, and questions if she was wrong. She mutters the story changed, because I did something I've never done before, then thinks in that case. She rings the bell, and a maid enters saying, did you call, my lady? Bianca orders, prepare the carriage. The maid asks, where are you going? Bianca thinks it's time for me to do a good deed, then says a nearby orphanage. The maid is confused, I beg your pardon? Bianca adds, and bring me my checkbook. Plenty of cash, too. Thinking that's something a villainess would never do. Upon arriving, she observes it looks nicer than I expected. The maid nervously asks, my lady, are you sure about this? Bianca replies, what do you mean? The maid explains, I thought you hated coming to dirty and run-down places like this. Bianca thinks it doesn't look dirty to me, when a girl holding a baby approaches and asks, who are you? Are you looking for someone? The maid answers, this is Lady Bianca Crawford. She would like to speak with the director of this orphanage. The girl says, oh sure, and runs inside shouting director. Bianca comments, it looks like the director is inside. Should we just go in? The maid insists, but you came all this way, my lady. It's only right that the director comes out to greet you. Bianca thinks, what a bother. Huh? Who's this? A little girl approaches and asks, excuse me, are you a princess? The maid corrects her, she is Lady Bianca Crawford. The girl insists, but you're so pretty. Are you sure you're not a princess? Bianca thinks her status is comparable, then replies, I'm almost like a princess. The girl beams, I knew it. So you're a princess. My lady? Bianca immediately regrets it, thinking, wait, why did I say that? The girl grabs her hand and drags her, saying, let's go inside. The maid scolds, hey, who do you think you're touching with those dirty hands? But Bianca notices her hands are dirty and wonders why she doesn't mind. Soon, the orphanage director Leanne Sparta arrives and asks, what brought you all this way, my lady? Bianca states, I came to sponsor your orphanage. The girl excitedly shouts, the princess is having tea. Leanne is shocked, pardon me. Wait, when did you get here, Lala? Oh my word, that would be greatly appreciated, but this is so sudden that I don't know what to say. Bianca cuts in, but in return, I need you to spread the word that I'm sponsoring this orphanage. Leanne stammers, I beg your pardon? Bianca snaps, do I really have to break it down for you? Spread the word that I'm sponsoring this orphanage, whether that means asking the kids or putting up posters. The girl whispers, the princess is clicking her tongue. Bianca thinks she needs to improve her public image and prove she is not a villainess, and that sponsorship is the best way. Leanne quickly agrees, of course, my lady. Bianca says, perfect. Then I'll write you a check right now. Leanne gratefully says, thank you very much, Lady Bianca. This is more than enough to cover our building repair costs. We'll be able to buy new clothes for the children, too. She continues, how will I ever repay your kindness? Bianca dismisses it, that was the cost of 3 dresses. No need to overreact. Leanne smiles, today must be my lucky day, and don't worry about your request. I'll be sure to spread the word. My lady? Suddenly, Bianca notices someone and thinks, what is he doing here? As Ricardo steps forward and says, Bianca, what are you doing here? Bianca says, Ricardo. He responds, what are you doing here? You have no business being here. She thinks, what does this man take me for? Is running into me here something to get angry about? What does he think I'm going to do to an orphanage? Suddenly, a little girl shouts, don't get mad at the princess, Ricardo. He calls her Lala. Lala declares it doesn't matter who. If anyone gets mad at the princess, Lala is gonna put them on the very, very naughty list. Even if it's you, Ricardo. Bianca thinks I've been guarded by plenty of knights before, but this is the safest I've ever felt. Lala points at him and says, "You're a big dummy." Bianca calmly intervenes, "Lala, hear me out," then adds, "Unless you want to get put on the very, very naughty list, I suggest you step aside." Back in the director's office, Ricardo apologizes, "Sorry about that. I thought you followed me here." Bianca replies that's okay, while thinking the future Duke shouldn't apologize this easily. He asks, "But what made you want to sponsor an orphanage? I thought House Crawford had no interest in charitable work." She answers, "No, this is a personal interest of mine." He reacts, "Huh? Yours?" She continues, "Judging by how Lala calls you by first name, it seems you must visit quite often." He explains, "Yeah, but the children don't know that I'm a nobleman." She thinks that's why he's dressed so casually. He adds, "They seem to think I'm just a skilled swordsman. I've been teaching the boys how to handle a sword." She asks, "A sword?" He explains there are quite a few commoners serving in the Knight's Order. Even if they don't obtain a high rank, they can receive a salary and live a stable life. She thinks so he's teaching them how to make a living rather than just giving them money. I do suppose that would be more helpful in the long run. She says that's a good idea. She continues, thinking since Ricardo is a renowned swordsman in the Empire, his students are bound to be competent, and above all, a letter of recommendation from him would ensure they can join any order of their choosing. She asks, "Do girls learn how to handle swords as well?" He replies, "I teach those who wish to learn, but it's not easy for girls to become knights. And since they know that, they don't show much interest." She asks then, "What's the future prospect for girls?" He answers, "That's outside of my knowledge. According to the director, they're sent off to get married once they reach maturity, or they go and find work in the city. Since they don't have any particular skills, they probably work odd jobs." She repeats, "Odd jobs." Lala shivers and says, "I'm freezing." Bianca imagines her working, and Lala adds, "If I don't finish this load of laundry, I won't get paid." Bianca thinks, how can they do that to a child? Lala then says, "I love the princess." Bianca thinks, why am I so worried about a child I just met? She says this seems unfair. Boys have an opportunity to become knights, yet all girls can do is work odd jobs? He responds, "Do you think so? Becoming a knight and handling a sword isn't as easy as it sounds. Wars are gruesome. People die, the place turns to ruins, and everywhere you go, you hear wails of despair. I still remember the horror so vividly. I even dream about it sometimes." Bianca notices his vacant expression and thinks his eyes are empty, as if he might disappear without a trace. I've never seen Ricardo look so vulnerable. He continues, "The truth is, I'm teaching children and sponsoring the orphanage so I can atone for my sins. It's ironic that I'm encouraging children to become knights despite knowing the terrors of war, but this is the only skill I have to offer." Bianca thinks, has he been suffering alone all this time? There's no way for me to know what life through his eyes is like. He calls her name, Bianca. She thinks, I just hope the wind doesn't blow him away. She begins, I don't know what I should say. I just think, then panics internally. I'm holding his hand. What do I say? He softly says, Bianca. Thank you. She freezes, thinking he thanked me for the very first time. No matter how hard I tried to become his duchess, I couldn't get him to say these words. He adds, I feel like I saw a new side of you today. She replies, well, I think this is the longest conversation we've ever had. He agrees, is that right? Shall we get going? She says sure, thinking I've held his hand numerous times before, but I don't remember it feeling this warm. She suddenly remembers, oh right. Sir Wensbury is going to host a ball. The invitation should arrive by the end of the day. He replies, all right. I'll be at your residence to escort you. He then asks Bianca? She answers yes. He says, you look a little flushed. Do you have a fever? She quickly says, I'm fine. I must have stayed out for too long. He asks, are you sure you're all right? She insists, yes. Let's go. She thinks Ricardo was looking straight at me. He wasn't looking past me, with a disinterested gaze. His eyes were fixed on me without question. My heart won't stop racing. Is this a good sign or a bad omen? The maid asks, is something bothering you, my lady? Bianca replies, no, I'm fine. The maid responds, if you say so. Bianca thinks I received information about Maria from my butler yesterday. The bottom line is that Maria exists in real life. I still haven't confirmed if she's Sir Wensbury's love child, but she does indeed live with her sick, widowed mother. I also found out that Sir Wensbury went to Encheny to recuperate from a war injury during his younger days, and that the maid who looked after him at the time was Maria's mother. All of the facts I've confirmed so far align with the book. And it's very likely that everything else is true. Does that mean I'll really die? She snaps. This is driving me up the wall. The maid announces we've arrived, my lady. Bianca replies all right. Inside the bookstore, the seller greets her lady Bianca. Welcome in. I was waiting for you to return. She asks for me? He replies yes. I changed the seal just as you recommended. I just changed it recently, so I'm not sure if it's effective. But I have a good feeling. She nods. That's good. Anyway, I'm here to buy a book. He asks which book are you looking for? She thinks. Let me think. Books about war trauma, psychological treatment, panic disorder, that sort. He praises her passion for knowledge is never-ending. She commands, bring me everything you have. Now. I'll buy out your entire bookstore. He panics. I'll get right on it. Bianca thinks the journey of the dandelion princess, Lala, seemed to like princesses. She even saved me from Ricardo. It'd be nice to reward her. She says, sir. The seller exhales. Phew, I'm exhausted. Yes, my lady. She continues. I'll take all the fairy tale books in that bookshelf. In the garden, she says we cross paths again. Ricardo replies, indeed. Do you come here often? She answers, unless something comes up, I drop by 2 to 3 times a week. Swordsmanship only improves with practice. He asks, what brings you here? She replies, I bought a couple of books. He pauses, a couple. She calmly says, this is nothing. He calls out, children. And the kids respond, thank you, Lady Bianca. Lala runs in shouting, Princess Bianca. Another maid warns Lala. You're going to fall over. Lala excitedly says, when did you arrive? Why didn't you tell me you were here? As soon as Nicole told me, I ran over from the other side of the backyard. Bianca thinks, was I supposed to tell you? She says, I just got here. Lala beams, Princess, you are so pretty. Bianca replies, I know, thinking what's so funny? Lala whispers, Princess, Princess. If Ricardo gives you a hard time again, just let me know. I'll mention the naughty list again. Bianca smirks, do you really think Ricardo will be scared of you, Lala? You're too cute. Lala insists, I'm super scary. Do you want to see? Lala roars. Bianca thinks, how cute. Do I tell her she looks cute or scary? It's almost scary how cute she is. Lala asks, what do you think? Are you scared? Ricardo joins and watch out for the scary tiger. Lala laughs. He teases, stop bothering the princess, fierce tiger. Lala protests, I wasn't bothering her. I was trying to keep her safe. He replies, is that right? Lala declares, yes. If anyone tries to bother the princess, I'm going to scold them with my roars. He smiles, the princess is so lucky to have you on her side. Lala suddenly says, oh. I saw this in a fairy tale. The part where the knight rescues the princess. Oh. Then I guess Ricardo is a knight, not a villain. Does that mean you'll get married? Bianca thinks, well, the princess is actually a villainess, and for a villainess, death is her only fate. But Ricardo answers, perhaps. If the princess and I get married, will you come to our wedding? Lala immediately says, sure. Bianca freezes, thinking, why is he saying that? The girl excitedly says, Lala. The princess brought us books. There are even books about princesses. Lala cheers, wow. I want to see. Bianca finally asks, why, did you say that? Ricardo calmly replies, is that something I'm not supposed to say? The whole country knows that it's going to happen. She says, I thought you weren't interested in marriage. She thinks whenever we discussed marriage, he always stayed neutral, saying possibly or perhaps. It wasn't carelessness. He simply didn't care about marrying her. Yet now he's talking about it with a smile. What changed his mind? Ricardo answers, I admit that I wasn't all that interested. But I never said I wouldn't go through with it either. She asks, what? He looks at her and says, I never once said I wouldn't marry you, Bianca. She thinks, who does he think he is? Ricardo said, I never once said I wouldn't marry you. Bianca said, Ricardo. Lala said, Your Royal Highness. Can you read me a book? She said, Lala, I'm busy right now. Why don't you read it by yourself? Lala said, I don't know how to read. She said, you don't know how to read? Why not? Lala said, because I don't know how. He said, Lala, why don't you ask Nicole to read it to you? Lala said, I want Her Royal Highness to read it to me. He said, she'll read it to you later. You're a good girl, right? Lala said, I'm a good girl. Lala rushed and said, Nicole. He said, most common children don't learn how to read until they're older. She said, why? He said, because they have no one to teach them. She said, don't they have nannies? What about a private tutor? He said, no, common children are typically raised by their mothers or they grow up on their own. And orphans like Lala learn how to read even later. Some don't learn how to read at all. She said, I can't let Lala grow up that way. Lala is such a cute and sweet child. She thought, how is she expected to grow up on her own? What is she, grass? She said, oh my goodness, so that's why I can't understand a thing Lala says. Her thoughts are still illogical because she doesn't know how to read. He said, hey Bianca, weren't we in the middle of talking about our marriage? She said, we can talk about that later. You just told me Lala can't read. He said, I thought you hated children. She said, I don't hate them. I just don't approach them unless they approach me first. He said, really? I really thought you hated children. She thought, what is he doing? He's too close, she said. Anyway, I'm going to speak with the director about increasing my funding so they can hire a teacher. He said, I see. I had it all wrong. Horseman said, easy. Geez, why won't he move? What do we do? She said, why are you asking me? Guy said, what's the matter? Horseman said, well, the horse won't budge. He must be exhausted from lugging all those books. Guy said, that's not good. Ricardo said, I'll escort Lady Bianca to the Crawford residence. Bianca thought, this is a Wynkaiser carriage? He must have brought the most humble-looking carriage so that nobody knows he's from the dukedom. Horseman said, really? Thank you very much. Guy said, my lady, what a relief. She thought you didn't even ask me first. Oh well, she said, I apologize for the trouble. Ricardo said, there are so many books. Bianca said, I read a lot. He said, I've heard rumors that you enjoy reading. But war trauma, soldiers after war, what is trauma, war, and corpses? Those are some interesting titles. A lady who reads about war and corpses. She thought I knew I shouldn't have gotten in this carriage. He said, could it be? She said, no, I bought these books out of pure academic curiosity. They have nothing to do with you. He said, that's not what I was going to ask. After reaching at the residence, Ricardo was changing clothes and thought, I saw a new side of Bianca today. A beautiful yet cold, noble lady who's power-driven and arrogant. My fiancé, who is destined to marry me and bear an heir for my lineage, according to the promise made between our families. I can't believe she doesn't hate children. Past. Kid splat on the cake and said, ah. Bianca said, oh my goodness. She must really like cakes. Haha, how adorable. Oh my. Ricardo pleased by seeing this. Bianca thought, what a mess. Of course, it's a mess. She smashed a cake. But isn't that how children are? She said, Ricardo, what's the matter? She thought, I once dreamed of that life. Living happily ever after, with a loving wife and a cute child. I wanted to give up my title as heir to the Wynkaiser dukedom and settle down in a quiet and secluded place with my family. But the reality is that no one else can take my position as heir, and I can't just abandon my responsibilities and leave for the countryside. So at the very least, I wanted to build a happy and peaceful family. That was the only wish I salvaged from the horrors of war. But that will never happen as long as I'm with Bianca. Because even if we get married, she'll be more concerned with her title as Duchess than being my wife. He thought, or so I thought. He said, Bianca. He recalls the past moments with Bianca and thought that what she said, I don't hate them. I bought books for the children. I don't know what to say. He thought she changed. No, she has always been a good person. It's just that I've only known one side of her this whole time. Whenever I imagined my future family, my wife's face was always a blur. But it's now becoming clearer. Yes, Bianca. It's you. He said, let's begin our wedding preparations. Bianca thought I received a report about Maria from my butler. A pretty, kind, and pitiful young lady who's bright and cheerful despite her circumstances. It couldn't have been easy growing up without knowing her father. She probably had to endure poverty and reproach. But she tried her best to overcome her hardships. No matter how hard she studied, her options were limited to day labor or working as a maid for a noble family. Her financial situation didn't improve, and to make matters worse, her single mother worked herself to the bone until she fell ill. God was too cruel to give her a fighting chance, but Maria worked hard and nursed her sick mother with a smile on her face. Why would I kill her? I should be helping her. Whoever wrote this report did a great job. She reminds me of Panya, who has to look after her father and little siblings, as well as Lala, who is always smiling. But that's what makes me more anxious. A sweet and innocent person like her will turn me into a villainess, steal Ricardo's heart, and threaten my life. Bianca said, "What am I supposed to do with her?" She thought, "I can't kill her, nor can I save her." Wednesbury Ball. Evelyn said, "Oh my, Lady Bianca. You look beautiful as always." Bianca said, "How do you do, Lady Evelyn? You look stunning yourself." Evelyn said, "No matter how much I dress up, I could never compare to the most beautiful woman in the empire." She said, "You flatter me." She thought, look at those probing eyes. What is she so curious about? Evelyn said, "I heard you've been engaging in a lot of charitable work." She said, "Yes, that's right." Evelyn said, "I didn't think the Crawford family was interested in that sort of thing. Doesn't your house have more practical values?" She said, "It's just a personal interest of mine." Evelyn said, "You have a big heart." She thought, it sounds like the director has been spreading the word. "Yeah, keep up the good work. Tell everyone how kind I am." Evelyn said, "Lord Wynkaiser is a lucky man to be engaged to a woman like you." She said, "I don't know about that." Ricardo said, "Don't be so modest." Evelyn said, "How do you do, Lord Wynkaiser?" Ricardo said, "How do you do, Lady Evelyn?" Evelyn said, "You look spectacular today. I hope you enjoy your evening." Bianca thought the rumor is going to spread faster than I expected. Ricardo said, "I've heard some rumors about you recently." She said, "What kind of rumors?" He said, "I hear that in addition to orphanages, you've been helping homeless shelters and retirement homes as well." She said, "It's a new interest of mine." He said, "You said it was a personal interest when we spoke at the orphanage. Why are you interested in doing good deeds all of a sudden?" She thought, look at that fierce look in his eyes. He wants to know my true intentions. Is he really that curious about why I changed? Actually, this is perfect. She said, "Because I have a lot of money. Besides, didn't you know?" He said, "No, what?" She said, "I've always been a good person." She thought, this is my chance to make it clear to everyone that I'm a good person. He said, "I see. I guess I didn't know you very well. Can I have this dance?" She thought, what's gotten into him? He doesn't even like to dance. Besides, I already danced with him earlier. She said, "Sure." Lady said, "Oh my, it looks like Lord Wynkaiser and Lady Bianca are going to dance. They make such a perfect pair." Bianca said, "This is my favorite song." He said, "I see." They both start dancing. She thought, anyway, I have to find out more about Maria from Sir Wensbury. But where do I start? It's not like I can just go up to him and ask. Wensbury asked to Bianca in her thought, "Were you intimate with a maid from Enchany? Do you have a love child?" He said, "Bianca, what are you thinking about?" She said, "Just this and that." He said, "Shouldn't you focus on your partner when you're dancing?" She thought, why is he acting this way? When did we ever look into each other's eyes while dancing as if we were actually in love? He always looked past my shoulders when we danced, and although I looked at him at first, my gaze gradually drifted to his collar. But Ricardo is gazing at me now. He said, "That's better." She thought, this isn't the Ricardo I know. He said, "Bianca." Her eyes widened and both were dancing. He said, "You look beautiful today." She thought, what did he just say to me? All starts clapping. Bianca said, "I need to fix my makeup." She walked away and thought, what's gotten into him? Do I look so beautiful today that he suddenly took a liking to me? No, that's impossible. In the 10 years we've been engaged, there wasn't a single time when I wasn't beautiful. There's no way he would fall in love with me out of the blue. She said, "Yeah, he's probably just mistaken." A sibilant prince, said Bianca. She thought, that voice. What a bother. If I just walk faster and get lost in the sea of people. Prince said, "Don't ignore me. I'm hurt." She thought, what a creep. Prince said, "Long time no see." She thought, pink hair and violet eyes. These traits can only be found within the royal bloodline of the Splendor Empire. She said Bianca of House Crawford pays her respects to His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Iselblint Cartagento. Prince said, His Royal Highness, just call me by my name. She said I wouldn't dare address the Crown Prince that way. Prince said you had no problem with it before. It's Assel. She said, how can I help you, Your Royal Highness? Assel said, haha, I told you to call me Assel. She said, haha, I can't do that, Your Royal Highness. If you have nothing more to say, I had best be going. Assel said, wait, hold on. You're so strict. Do I have to come up with something? She thought, let's just go our separate ways. Assel said, would you like to dance? She thought it's a simple yet the most appropriate excuse for the situation. Besides, who would dare turn down a dance with the Crown Prince? I have no choice. Ricardo said, Bianca? Assel said, oh. Ricardo. Ricardo said, Your Royal Highness. Ricardo kneeled down and said Ricardo of House Wynkaiser pays his respects to His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Iselblint Cartagento. Assel said, oh, no need to kneel. It's been a long time, Ricardo. Ricardo said, indeed, Your Royal Highness. Assel said, will that be all? Ricardo said, yes, Your Royal Highness. Assel said, you haven't changed one bit. Shall we go, Bianca? Bianca said, yes, Ricardo said, Your Royal Highness. My apologies, but Bianca is my partner tonight. Assel said, I'm aware. You've been partners ever since you got engaged. Everyone in Splendor's social circle knows that. Ricardo said, so Bianca will be dancing with me. Assel said, didn't you already dance? Ricardo said, we did. Assel said, according to Splendor's customs, we're free to dance with whomever we wish after the first dance. Did our customs change and I wasn't aware of it? Ricardo said, since she's my partner, I hold priority. Bianca thought, shouldn't I have a say in this? Assel said, priority? It saddens me to hear that. I usually don't have time to come out unless it's the Imperial Ball, but today was an exception. So be a little more accommodating, will you? Ricardo said, I'm afraid I can't do that. Assel shot, why not? Ricardo said, because Bianca is going to dance with me. Assel said, but we already agreed to dance before you got here. Assel said, isn't that right, Bianca? Take my hand. Ricardo said it didn't seem like she had accepted yet. Assel said she was close. You just didn't see it. Her fingers touched my hand. Ricardo said, I don't know about that. Isn't that right, Bianca? Bianca said, I beg your pardon? I. Butler said, Your Royal Highness. Assel said, ugh, God damn it. Butler said, it's time to go, Your Royal Highness. Assel said, already? I just got here. Butler said, it's already been 53 minutes since you arrived. You were supposed to leave 18 minutes ago. You must return to the palace now if you wish to honor your other commitments. Ricardo and Bianca said, it was a pleasure, Your Royal Highness. Assel said, I don't like how quick and precise that was. Very well. I'm off to sacrifice this fragile body of mine for the sake of the Empire's security. Bianca thought his aid saved the day. Ricardo said, well then. Shall we go, my dear fiancé? She thought, fiancé? Since when do you address me that way? Ricardo said, Bianca? Bianca said, what, did you just call me? Fiancé? He said, it's true. She said, sure, but you've never addressed me that way before. He said, then I'll just have to start now. She thought, did he eat something that was spoiled? Did he eat something that was spoiled? He said, can I have this dance, Bianca? She thought, this is his third time asking me to dance. She said, are you all right? He said, what do you mean? She said, I didn't think you enjoyed dancing this much. He said, I don't particularly enjoy it. She said, then why do you keep asking me to dance? He said, because if I don't dance with you, other men will. She thought, he's too close. She said, what other men? He said, him, and him. They've been staring ever since you stepped out alone. The host's son, a bodyguard, and a count, in his 60s. He said, you're quite popular, Bianca. She said, what an interesting thing to say. He said, have you always been this popular? She said, how interesting indeed. He said, why do you say that? She thought, why? I'm the most beautiful woman in Splendor who comes from an influential family and has lots of money. And the list goes on. I knew it. He really had no interest in me whatsoever. She said, of course. I'm the perfect woman. He said, do you usually say that about yourself? She said, why not? It's true. She said, you're the only person who has ever treated me like dirt on the streets. He said, did I really treat you that way? She said, actually, Perhaps it was more like the dirt in your pockets rather than on the streets. Forgetting. He said, "Are you angry at me?" She said, "Me? Why would I be angry at my master who's kind enough to carry me around in his pockets?" He said, "You're angry." She thought, how shameless can he get? I don't deserve to be treated this way. What made me want to marry a man who wasn't even interested in me? I'm so grateful to that damned book right now. I'm Bianca Crawford. I have no reason to tolerate this sort of treatment. She said, "Ricardo." He said, "Bianca. This is my first time seeing you angry. I've seen many new sides of you recently." She thought, well, this is just the beginning. So I hope you enjoy yourself. He said, "It's fun learning new things about you." She thought he smiled. Ricardo smiled. He smiled brightly, for the first time. He said, "Bianca? What's the matter? Are you unwell?" She thought, no, this takes me back. It's the kind of smile I saw on Ricardo's face when he was young and innocent. Bianca said, "How do you do, Lord Wensbury?" Reinhard said, "Oh, welcome, Lady Bianca." She said, "Did I keep you waiting?" "I tried to come on time." Reinhard said, "Not at all. I was early." Reinhard Wensbury. Sir Wensbury's only son and the heir to the Marquess title. He looks so much like his father during his younger days that people often joke about how Reinhard could use his father's portrait as his own without anyone finding out. But in contrast to the stubborn and hardy Marquess Wensbury, who was once a renowned knight, Reinhard exudes a completely different aura as a docile and obedient son. She said, "I was a little surprised when you asked to speak with me in private." Reinhard said, "Oh, about that. I apologize if I caused any misunderstandings. I had no intention to disrespect Lord Wynkaiser's fiancé. You have to believe me." She thought saying that makes him sound even more suspicious. He said, "I actually meant to tell you at the ball, but I heard you went home early." She thought Ricardo took me home after that. Ricardo said, "Are you all right, Bianca? Your face is red." She said, "Yes, I didn't feel very well." She thought, ugh, seriously? I wanted to forget about it. Reinhard said, "Oh no, are you all right? I wouldn't have called you here if I had known." She said, "Yes, I'm completely fine now." She thought, why is he so flustered? It's almost as if he's nervous because he's with the girl he likes. Despite turning 25 years old this year, Reinhard still doesn't have a fiancé. He was once engaged to a Marquess daughter, but they called it off, and he's been single ever since. Rumor has it that he has a crush on a Marquess daughter. Could it be that he still hasn't gotten over his ex-fiancé? She said, "Why did you ask to see me today?" Reinhard said, "Oh, actually, what I'm about to tell you is a little embarrassing. But since you're an exemplary figure, I overcame my embarrassment in hopes that you could help me." She thought, what a bother. Does he think I made those donations so I could start my own counseling business? Reinhard said so. "Here's the thing," she said, "if it's difficult to say, you can tell me next time." Bianca decided to flee. Reinhard said, "No. I'll tell you." Failed. Reinhard said, "The truth is, there's a love child in my family." Reinhard said, "There's a love child in my family. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not mine." She thought, I actually would have preferred that. Reinhard said, "It seems as though my father had a relationship with a woman when he was younger." She said, "Isn't it possible that the woman lied?" He said, "We considered that as well. So we looked into her history. When my father was young, he recuperated in the countryside due to an injury. And it seems like he got intimate with one of the maids who was caring for him. When I counted backward from the child's date of birth, it aligned perfectly with when my father was in recuperation." She said, "I see." He said, "I also considered the possibility that she's another man's child, but their resemblance is undeniable. My father wishes to adopt her into the Wensbury family." She thought, he has already met Maria. He said, "My mother opposes the idea, but my father will probably get his way." She thought, she's already in the capital. Somewhere close by. He said, "We plan to educate her, but she'll be lacking in many ways." She thought, the story is progressing without a hitch. He said, "Although it's late, she will soon have her debutante ball and enter high society as a member of the Wensbury family, but I'm still concerned." She thought, just as I read in the book. He said, "As shameless as it sounds, I asked to speak with you in hopes that you could help that child." She thought, without an inch of error, she asked, "What is her name?" He said, "My half-sister's name is Maria Vello." She thought, I suppose she's Maria Wensbury now. And I know where it will lead me. This story will slowly and steadily lead me to my beheading. She thought, what should I do? At this rate, the two of them will ultimately meet, and if that happens, she said, should I kill her? She thought, what am I thinking? Pull it together. These kinds of evil thoughts are exactly what the book wants. Besides, if I kill a person, every day might become a nightmare. Above all, even if their relationship hasn't deepened yet, killing her was the ultimate reason why I died in the book. It's too dangerous. She said nightmares. She thought at that moment. I was reminded of the blank look on his face when he spoke of the war. Does he dream about the people he killed every single night? Do the people he killed weigh him down, resent him, and curse him all night long? She said Ricardo. She thought, does that mean Ricardo in the book continued to have nightmares about me after he took my life? There's 1 week until St. George's Day. Their destined meeting is just around the corner. Is there a way for me to avoid death? What if I prevent them from meeting? What if I change their destiny so that they never fall in love? That's it. There's a way out. Next day. Ricardo said, on St. George's Day? Bianca said, that's right. She thought St. George's Day. She said, I was hoping, she thought, is when Maria and Ricardo first meet. She said, you could spend the entire day with me. She thought, all I have to do is keep Ricardo by my side at all times. He said, the entire day. With you. She thought, I didn't know he could make that expression. He said, I'm honored, but there's one problem. She said, what is it? He said, I already have a previous engagement. She said, what previous engagement? With whom? She thought, has he met Maria already? He said, do you really want to know? She said, I do. He said, I promised the children at the orphanage that I'd take them to the St. George Festival. She said, oh. What was I thinking? Haha. I see. He said, speaking of which, he said, I was wondering if you would like to come with us. She thought, what's all this? He finally asked me out on a date, only to bring me to this chaotic place. St. George's Day procession was being held at the temple in honor of St. George, while in the streets of cities and villages a grand festival was taking place where people could enjoy various foods and attractions. However, Bianca looked around in confusion and said, what in the world? Ricardo, did a war break out? Ricardo calmly replied, this is just a festival, Bianca. She hesitated and said, just a festival. She thought, this is a festival. Shouldn't there be music with people having a good time? No one told me it would be this chaotic. Lala then excitedly said, what are you waiting for, Your Royal Highness? Let's go. She panicked and said, wait, Lala. I can't. She thought, I'm not ready yet. But as she looked around, she noticed that even though it was crowded, no one was running into each other and people were actually enjoying themselves. Merchants shouted, candy for sale. It melts in your mouth, and she thought, the noise was just from merchants touting for business. Another merchant called, who wants to play a fun game? If you strike all 5 targets, you'll win a big prize. She then observed how a child stopped crying as soon as he got a lollipop and realized, and the child stopped crying as soon as he got a lollipop. So, this is a festival, Lala suddenly said, Your Royal Highness. It's a doll. She looked at it and thought, what a strange day, then said, do you want it? Lala happily responded, yeah, and she said, okay, I'll buy it for you, though she thought, everything about this place is noisy and dirty. Meanwhile, a merchant shouted, you have 1 minute, and she noticed rats, thinking rats? Why would anyone do that? Lala shouted, Robin, you can do it, and she thought, but am I excited that he caught a rat? A part of me, a very small part of me, well, if Lala's happy, that's all that matters, might be having a good time. Ricardo then said, what a relief. She replied, I beg your pardon. He continued, I know it was my idea to come together, but I was still concerned. Based on what I've seen, I didn't think you would fit in at a market like this, she said. Oh, he added, but you seem to have changed recently, so I figured it was worth a try. And I think I made the right decision. She said, thank you for coming here with me, while thinking, whoa, where is this coming from? A kid then said, Ricardo, I'm thirsty. Can you buy me some juice? Ricardo replied, sure, go ahead and pick which flavor you want, and she thought, keeps making expressions I've never seen before. The kids asked, can I pick 2 flavors? And he said, of course. Suddenly someone shouted, thief. Somebody catch that thief. The thief ran and shouted, move, pushing Nicole, but Ricardo caught her and said, Nicole. Thief, Nicole said, please catch him. Ricardo then said, Bianca. Look after the children for me. She replied, I beg your pardon. Ricardo and thought, that was the moment. When I realized it, then she shouted, Peter. Look after the children. Peter replied, wait, my lady. Nicole called, Your Royal Highness, and she thought, the woman behind that voice, was without a doubt. She then shouted, Ricardo. Ricardo, wait. I have to stop him. I can't allow the two of them to meet. Ricardo tackled the thief to the ground while the thief cried, I'll give it back. I'll give it back. Spare me, Ricardo asked, where's the owner? Maria then shouted, you jerk. Do you know what that money was for? That was for my mother's hospital expenses. Ricardo and Maria looked at each other and Maria said, thank you so much. But Ricardo asked, does this belong to you? She said, yes, it does. Thank you so much. He then said, really, but did not hand over the bag of coins, and she said, huh. He asked, do you have proof? She replied, I beg your pardon. He continued, do you have any evidence that this is really yours? Maria said, what? Are you accusing me of lying? Bianca thought, I've read those lines so many times that I have them memorized. They're saying exactly what they said in the book, word for word. Ricardo said, I just want to confirm that this pouch belongs to you. I wouldn't want to return it to the wrong person. Bianca thought, perhaps the ending can't be changed, no matter how hard I try. Maria said, my name should be embroidered on the pouch. My mom embroidered it. Ricardo replied, is that right? All right, what's your name? Bianca thought. It was inevitable, and Maria said, Maria. My name is Maria. Ricardo repeated, Maria. Bianca thought, now they'll fall madly in love with each other. Will you end up driving a knife into my throat after all? It turns out there was nothing I could do about it, and Maria asked, what's your name? He said, my name is, and she thought, what's meant to happen will happen, and he said, Bianca. Bianca thought, what's meant to happen will happen. No matter how much I read or how hard I struggle, the ending will remain the same. I can't breathe. I can't. I have to get out of here. Ricardo shouted, Bianca. He thought, why? Was Bianca crying? She's shown so many new sides today. For example, the confused look on her face when she saw the crowd, followed by a joyful reaction. Not to mention how pleased she looked when Lala held the doll in her arms. Although it felt unfamiliar, I didn't dislike what I was seeing. But that doesn't mean I wanted to see her cry, too. Meanwhile, Maria said, excuse me. Please tell me your name. I wish to repay you for getting my precious money back. Ricardo replied, that won't be necessary. She insisted, but I want to. He said, if you must, please pay it forward by helping someone else. That's how you can repay me. In the carriage, the maid asked, are you all right, my lady? Did something happen at the festival? You don't look well. Bianca replied, I'm fine. I just feel a little dizzy. The maid said, then shall I cancel your plans tomorrow? She asked, what plans? The maid said, Marquis Wensbury's daughter will be paying a visit. Bianca thought, oh, is that tomorrow? How unfortunate for me, she said. No, let's proceed as planned. I'll be just fine. At the mansion, Maria said, how do you do? I'm Maria Vello. I'm Maria Wensbury. Bianca said, have a seat. Maria replied, sure, thank you. Maria thought. She made an effort to doll herself up, but her hair is disheveled. Her facial features are pretty, but she looks a little tacky. However, her eyes are full of life, and she has a smile that exudes the innocence of a child. Bianca thought, none of which I possess. She said, oh, Maria said, Lord Wensbury has told me a great deal about you. She asked, are you referring to Lord Reinhard Wensbury? Maria said, yes. He speaks of you all the time. Same goes for his father, Sir Wensbury. They said you're a perfect lady whom I should strive to emulate. She thought, if I think about it, that was my one and only driving force. To become a perfect lady and an elegant duchess. But my dreams could come crashing down because of this young girl. Will a mere girl really ruin my future? Do I have to just sit back and watch it happen? What did I do to deserve this? Why do I have to die? Maria suddenly coughed heavily and the cup fell down and broke. She said, my lady, please, Please spare me, my lady. Lady? She continued, my lady? Are you all right? You haven't given me a response. Bianca replied, oh. My apologies. I got distracted. What were we talking about? Maria said, oh, you asked me why I moved to the capital. To be honest with you, my mother is not in good health. Bianca said, oh, I see. Maria continued, yes. Given my circumstances, I'm unable to cure my mother's illness on my own. If that wasn't the case, I would have stayed in the countryside. I'm just so grateful that you offered to help me. I wish to become someone who can help others just like you one day. She said, I'm not helping others out of goodwill alone. I just wanted to be seen as a good person on the surface. Maria replied, doesn't that mean you're a good person? She asked, I beg your pardon. Maria said, it's harder to be kind than cruel in this world. Yet you're going out of your way to do good deeds. That makes you a good person. Don't concern yourself with what strangers say about you. Even if everyone else does, you shouldn't. Bianca thought, she has a bright spirit. How could I ever kill a sweet girl like her? I haven't lived a life that can be defined by someone else. I studied and worked hard. But if you were to ask me what it was all for, she suddenly said, what did you just say? Ricardo said, did I hear you correctly? And she said, let me repeat myself. Ricardo, I want to break off our engagement. Assel said, Bianca, what's the meaning of this? You dirted my clothes. Apologize immediately, Bianca replied, that wasn't my fault. Assel said, then whose was it? Are you telling me this juice splashed onto my clothes all on its own? She said, no. She thought, my mother told me to stay out of trouble. It was an honest mistake. Ricardo stepped in and said, that's enough, Assel. You're giving her a hard time. I'll lend you my clothes. Assel said, that's not the issue. Ricardo calmly replied, yes, I know. My clothes would be too big on you. You'll grow into them. Assel shouted, no, that's not what I mean. She let out a small sound. Assel finally said, forget it. I'm going to get changed. Happy, the butler said, Your Royal Highness, it's time to head back. Assel left, saying, I won't let you off easy next time. Bianca then said, excuse me, why? Did you stand up for me? Ricardo replied, sorry. The chair was too low for you, wasn't it? I didn't realize. I should have paid closer attention. She thought, an apology. She asked, why are you apologizing to me? He said, because I wasn't mindful enough of my guest. Is something wrong? Bianca said, my mom told me apologizing is for losers. She said proper ladies don't create situations where they have to apologize in the first place. He replied, you're already learning so much at such a young age. I'm sure you'll become a fine lady. She thought, perhaps it was that smile. I think I fell for his sweet and caring smile. That's when I began dreaming of becoming his duchess. And I managed to come this far, but my priority isn't to become a duchess, nor is it to marry Ricardo. What really matters is me. Bianca said, Ricardo. She thought, I'm Bianca Crawford. She said, I want to break off our engagement. He repeated, break off our engagement? Weren't you the one who wanted this? She replied, Ricardo, we were too young when we got engaged. As with all decisions made by children, my decision back then was too hasty. I could only see what was in front of me. He said, it sounds like you're implying that there was no sincerity in your decision. She asked, sincerity? How's this for sincerity? All I've wanted was to become your duchess. As a young daughter of a marquis who wished to become a perfect lady, it seemed like such an appealing position. But I recently realized that there are things far more precious than that. So I'm trying to correct my past mistakes. He asked, but why must we break off our engagement? Is there another man? She replied, are you doubting my loyalty? She thought, that was unexpected. I thought he would be indifferent and just go along with it. And another man? You're the one who ends up running off with another woman. Above all, I don't want to die. He said, if I were to fall in love with another woman, your request to break off the engagement would be justified. But that will never happen. Because I'm deeply interested in you. So I won't break off the engagement. I refuse. She thought, could it be that the story changed? Does this mean Ricardo and I will end up together? I know how I can check the ending right now. It will be all right. Who knows? Perhaps I turned into the protagonist. Maria said, please tell me your name. I wish to repay you for getting my precious money back. Ricardo said, that won't be necessary. Bianca continued to think. However, Maria, who is afraid of everything upon her arrival in the capital, develops feelings for him. She falls deeply in love. Then I, who was once the villainess. Ricardo said, Bianca. She replied, Ricardo. Turn out to be Ricardo's first love. Bianca suddenly said, Maria. Do you think this will change Ricardo's heart? Maria replied, no, of course not. But that's all right. Even if I can't have his heart, at least I can have his body. Bianca immediately shouted, no. For the love of God. Why do I always end up dying? She thought, I don't know if this is a curse or God's will, but it seems the world won't rest until I'm killed. However, I refuse to let it get me down. Maria then smiled warmly and said, Lady Bianca. Welcome. I've been waiting for you. She thought, I'll just have to do what I can. She said, how do you do, Lady Maria? Did I visit too suddenly out of the blue? Maria quickly replied, not at all. I'm so delighted. Bianca responded, oh, Maria continued, I've been meaning to invite you over for tea since our last meeting. Please come inside. I prepared refreshments out in the garden. Bianca said, sure. Thank you. To be honest, I was a little hesitant because I didn't want to interfere. Maria asked, interfere? Bianca explained, when I heard about your mother the other day, I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I came to give you this. Maria asked, what is it? Bianca replied, take a look. I hope you can accept my gift without feeling burdened. Maria opened it and said, this is a recommendation letter for my mother's hospitalization. Hang on, St. Lemenica Hospital? Bianca said, yes, it's a hospital that's affiliated with the monastery sponsored by House Crawford. I'm sure House Wensbury looked into some excellent hospitals as well. However, when it comes to tuberculosis, Dr. Kenwell at St. Lemenica Hospital is the best, Maria said, but I heard he wasn't accepting any more patients. Bianca replied, that's why I wrote you a recommendation letter, in hopes that he can be your mother's primary physician. Maria immediately said, thank you, Lady Bianca. Bianca answered, don't mention it. I'm glad I could be of help, Maria exclaimed, you didn't just help me. You're my savior, she thought. This alleviates some of my worries. Unless she's an animal, I doubt she'll try to kill the person who helped her mother, just because she's blinded by love. At that moment, Wensbury appeared and said, oh my, look who it is. The Marquis followed and said, long time no see, Lady Bianca. I wasn't told that you'd be visiting today. Bianca said, Marquis Wensbury. Maria softly reacted, oh, she thought, and Marquis Wensbury. Maria quickly said, I apologize for my sudden visit. Wensbury replied, it's no problem at all. I'm happy to see your face after all this time. The Marquis added, oh my goodness. I see you've gotten even prettier. How are Marquis and Marchioness Crawford? Bianca replied, they're doing very well. The Marquis smiled and said, whenever I see a sweet girl like you, I can't help but regret that I only have one son. She replied, oh, you're too kind, she thought. Why is she saying that all of a sudden? Is she hinting to Maria? It's not that I don't understand her sentiments. Maria may be her adopted daughter on paper, but she's still an illegitimate child born from her husband's affair. Even so, that doesn't excuse Marquis Wensbury's behavior. I'm not the one to judge, but wasn't he the one who took her in? The Marquis then said, anyway, Reinhard will be home soon. Since you came all this way, you should see him before you go. Bianca replied, I beg your pardon. She thought, what for? The Marquis continued, rather than wasting time out here, why don't you come inside for some tea? It's going to get hotter under the sun. What are you doing in the garden? Bianca said, I appreciate the offer, but I was in the middle of tea with Lady Maria. The Marquis said, oh, I see. What a shame. Maria must have a talent for telling stories. Bianca smiled and said, yes, I enjoy talking with her very much. The Marquis said, why don't you go inside? Wensbury added, I wish to bask in the sun for a while before I go. The Marquis replied, very well then. I hope you have a nice chat with your beloved daughter. She thought, it's worse than I expected. I can only imagine how bad it gets when I'm not here. I suppose I do feel bad for her. Wensbury then said, I have one less thing to worry about thanks to you, Lady Bianca. As a man, I'm not very familiar with high society. I did hire a private tutor, but I believe some things can only be taught by your peers. Bianca replied, it's no problem at all. Maria exceeded my expectations. Wensbury said, such high praise already? I worry that Maria might get too complacent. Maria quickly said, I'll continue to give my best efforts, father. Bianca thought, do they at least have a good father-daughter relationship? Wensbury continued, Maria. It's almost time for you to attend your first debutante ball. You must prepare thoroughly. Maria said, yes, that's true, but I was a commoner until just recently. Don't you think it's too soon? Wensbury snapped, TSK, I won't tolerate your negativity. Maria apologized, my apologies. He continued, how do you expect to enter high society at this rate? She thought, I think I can help her out with this. The debutante ball. It's an event where noble ladies are introduced once they come of age, and since it's a very important occasion where they could meet their potential spouses, they are typically assisted by their mothers. However, that's not possible for Maria. Judging by Marchioness Wensbury's behavior, it would turn out to be a wreck. Maria then asked, did you say the debutante ball? She thought, this is my opportunity. Bianca then said, perhaps I could offer you some help. Reinhard knocked at the door and Maria said, yes? Come on in. Reinhard entered and said, Maria. Are you almost ready? Maria replied, yes, I'll be finished soon. Reinhard then said, father is concerned about your partner for the debutante ball. Do you have anyone in mind? Maria hesitated and said, well, Reinhard continued, if you can't find one, I'll take care of it. Don't you worry. Come to think of it, you probably don't know any men anyway. Even if you did, father would say they're beneath our status. Because they'd be from the countryside. If you had a lover, that's unfortunate. But it can't be helped in high society. Just look what happened to our father and your mother, but if you're lucky, you might be able to marry someone you like. So don't be disheartened. Our reputation isn't what it used to be, but our house is still highly regarded. Maria thought, someone I like, I can only think of one person. The guard I spoke with said he's the son of a duke. That means he might attend the upcoming ball. If I'm lucky enough to dance with him, he might notice me. How nice would it be to win over his heart? Would it be so wrong to have a little hope just like my mother did? Wait, what am I thinking? But then again, I'm free to imagine all I want. Bianca then said, are you serious? I can't believe a dress like that still exists in this world. For a moment, I thought we traveled back in time to my grandmother's generation. Maria replied, I beg your pardon? It looks pretty to me, especially this giant ribbon, haha. Can't we just go with this one? Bianca firmly said, as long as you're under my guidance, that will never happen. Maria sighed. Bianca continued, do you have anything to add? Reinhard awkwardly said, oh, me? Well, I don't know very much about dresses. Bianca thought, then why did you follow us here? Bianca said, anyway, that's not the dress we're looking for. Maria, change into the one I picked out for you. Now, Maria replied, okay. Bianca thought, it's nice to come out for a change. I can't help but overthink whenever I'm at home, especially after I received that letter. House Wynkaiser is proposing that we start preparing for the wedding. When would be a good time? Doesn't the month of May sound nice? Reinhard then said, thank you very much for helping my little sister. I wanted to extend my greetings upon your last visit to our estate, but I regrettably missed the opportunity. Should you honor us with another visit, I'll be sure to extend my hospitality. Bianca replied, oh, thank you. Reinhard thought, this is making me uncomfortable. Bianca then said, now for the reveal. Maria asked, what do you think? You don't like it? Bianca replied, no, it's perfect. This will do just fine. She'll be the most perfect debutante, she thought. All I have to do now is find her a partner. But he's the only contender I can think of. If I want to live, I have to bring the two of them together. I'm well aware. But for some reason, I can't stop thinking about that moment. Assel then said, what brings the esteemed lady of House Crawford here today? To think you'd come here seeking forged documents. I was looking forward to your visit after such a long time. How disappointing, Bianca replied, I'm sorry to disappoint you. And what do you mean by forged? I'm simply asking you to speed up the process, Assel said, so you wish to relocate the orphanage you're sponsoring to a new building. Well, there you go exploiting the crown prince again. I can see why there are rumors going around that Bianca, the flower of high society and the epitome of luxury and indulgence, has finally gone mad. Bianca thought, ugh, that big mouth of his. Bianca said, I didn't have a choice. I've heard that the paperwork for relocation is quite complex. I'm hosting the upcoming charity ball for that very reason. I already promised the director of the orphanage. Assel said, you're not the same Bianca I used to know. She asked, what is your image of me in your mind? Assel replied, I don't know. But I like it either way. Bianca said, are you teasing me again? Assel said, of course not. Your Royal Highness. Bianca looked surprised as he continued, I'll do as you ask. But under one condition. I want you to look at me the way you look at Ricardo, she said. An accomplished man like yourself could have anything you desire. Assel replied, but you picked Ricardo, she thought. His expression looks too serious to pass it off as a joke. I didn't know he was still holding on to the fact that I picked Ricardo over him. For someone so handsome, he sure is petty. Assel then said, very well. Then call me Assel. Bianca thought, seriously. That's easy. Assel urged, come on, hurry, she said, don't sit on the table. As she paused, thinking, wait, what if he's not being petty? Could it be that Assel? He then said, Assel. She replied, yes, Bianca, he said, I'll do anything you ask. The name I granted you is like a magic spell. Your wish will come true, as long as you call me Assel, she thought. Wait a minute. Come to think of it, a sure way to change my future might be right before my eyes. Life is a matter of choices. Rather than merely changing my behavior, what if I choose an entirely different path? What happens then? Bianca thought Maria asked, my lady, is my escort really who I think he is? And Bianca replied, yes, that's right, as Maria nervously said, what do I do? I'm so nervous, while Bianca calmly said, first times are always nerve-wracking, and Maria, still in disbelief, said, I can't believe Lord Wynkaiser will be my escort. Is this a dream? To which Bianca answered, no, this is real life, then explained. I know Lord Wynkaiser personally, so I put in a good word. I thought he'd be the perfect debutante partner for you, and Maria softly called out, my lady. As Bianca thought, it wasn't easy to convince him, but I'm glad he accepted, while Maria repeatedly thanked her, saying, thank you so very much. How will I ever repay you for your kindness? And Bianca replied, that's hardly necessary, but Maria continued, although I thought you were beautiful when we first met, you seemed a little cold. When you didn't say anything, you even scared me a bit, and Bianca responded, really? As Maria said, yes, but the more we talk, the more I realized that you're a very warm person. Then Ricardo came and said, are you finished? If you're ready, we should start heading out, and Bianca introduced him, saying, Ricardo, this is Lady Wensbury I told you about, while Maria reacted, oh, and Bianca urged, my lady, please introduce yourself to Lord Wynkaiser. So Maria politely said, how do you do, my lord? I'm Maria of House Wensbury. It's an honor to meet you. Do you remember me by any chance? You caught a thief for me at the market, and Ricardo replied, oh, was that you? As Maria said, I didn't expect you to remember me, while Bianca thought, is this what they call fate? The kind of thing you only see in fairy tales. Who knows? Perhaps I can meet a kind fairy godmother and live happily ever after. Then Ricardo added, your dress looks lovely, Bianca, and Maria quickly said, oh yes, I agree. You look beautiful today, my lady, as Bianca thought. What is he trying to do? And then Assel knocked and entered saying, oh, here you are. I've been looking for you everywhere, Bianca. I came to pick you up as promised. Huh? What's with the mood in here? Aren't you happy to see me? While Ricardo questioned, as promised? What's that supposed to mean? And Bianca hesitated. Well, Assel stepped forward grabbing Bianca's hand and announced, I, Assel, will be the one escorting Lady Bianca to the ball, causing Bianca to react. Wait a minute. Isn't that His Royal Highness with Lady Bianca? What are they doing together? What was all that stuff you said about a promise? And who said you're my escort? And Assel casually replied, oh, that? I was just having some fun. Did you see the look on Ricardo's face? He looked absolutely astonished. I can't remember the last time I saw any sort of emotion on that stone face of his. To be honest, it was quite satisfying, while Bianca sighed, I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do, thanks to you, and Assel laughed, huh. There's nothing to explain. Everyone already knows that Ricardo isn't your partner at this ball. Doesn't that mean someone else can fill that position? And it would be more fitting for a crown prince to do it than anyone else. It's all about how others perceive us, after all. Anyway, this was quite unexpected, as Bianca observed, to think Ricardo is escorting Marquis Wensbury's daughter, who appeared out of thin air. I thought Ricardo was being blackmailed or something, and Assel handed her a gift saying, Here, I brought you a gift to cheer you up. I don't know what this is about, but don't let it get you down, and Bianca replied, Thank you. These are the approval documents for the orphanage relocation, right? Assel said, You catch on quick. I wanted to surprise you, and Bianca instructed Emily, Put this in my room, to which Emily responded, Yes, my lady, while Assel muttered, What a waste, and Bianca asked, What do you mean? And Assel said, You, making her react, What? As he continued, I mean it. It's an honor to serve the young lady of House Crawford. This is a rare opportunity. May I dance with you tonight? I meant it when I said I wanted to be your escort, and Bianca thought he's really something else, before replying, How could I say no to the crown prince? Assel then announced, presenting Maria of the house of Marquis Wensbury, and Ricardo of the house of Duke Wynkaiser, while the nobles whispered, For an illegitimate child, yeah, she's pretty for a country bumpkin. Should we chat with her later? Anyway, they look quite good together, and Bianca thought it has finally begun. Will I be able to act like everything is all right? Maria stepped on the stairs and slipped as she said, but Ricardo quickly held her and she gasped, Oh, as Ricardo asked, Are you all right? And Maria replied softly, Thank you, while nearby people whispered, What was that? Did she fall over on purpose? And Assel commented, They look good together. Was that unnecessary to say? As Bianca calmly replied, No, it doesn't bother me at all. Though she thought, How foolish am I, to be swayed by his words, and as the dance continued Assel asked, Are you all right? And Bianca answered, What do you mean? As he said, Well, you haven't been able to focus on our dance. You know, my heart's about to burst knowing my aide could appear at any moment. Although, just dancing with you already has my heart pounding, and Bianca replied, Seems like making women swoon is your specialty, to which Assel immediately asked, Oh. Does that mean I made you swoon? And Bianca said no, making him respond, Really? That's a shame. So she asked, What would you gain from making me swoon? And he answered, Lots of things. For example, I could appoint you as my crown princess, causing Bianca to react, I beg your pardon? And Assel said, Did I surprise you? And she replied, Of course. That's nothing to joke about, while she thought, Assel never seems to be worried. Will I be that way if I become his crown princess? Will I be able to live without fear that someone might take my place? Without any worry that someone might poison me? And Assel then said, Bianca, I meant what I said. If the position of Duchess fails to satisfy you, you're always welcome by my side. I'll be waiting. And when Bianca saw Ricardo looking at her, she thought, Why is he looking at me? As if I'm a married woman who cheated on her husband. Then she said, Thank you for escorting me, Your Highness. I'm going to step out to fix my makeup, and Assel replied, Very well. Then I'll wait for you right here. But a lady interrupted, Your Royal Highness, making Assel react, It's that lady. Hang on, Bianca. Give me a moment, HM? And the lady said, Long time no see, Your Royal Highness. As Assel replied, Haha, indeed. It's been a long time, while Maria called softly Ricardo, and Bianca thought, Am I shaken right now? I pretended not to be fazed in front of Assel, but I couldn't dance while looking at the two of them. Is it because I was reminded of those days? Pull yourself together, Bianca. What's gotten into you? You were supposed to stay strong, but then the door opened and Bianca asked, Who is it? Ricardo. As he said, I need a word with you, and she replied, What is it? While he asked, Why did you ask me to escort Lady Maria? I was going to overlook it for your sake, but I must ask, and Bianca answered, Like I said, I wanted to help her because she's in an unfortunate situation. You were the most suitable partner for her. That's all, but Ricardo said that's it? To be honest, I'm suspicious of your intentions, and Bianca snapped back, Why? You looked great together. Isn't that all that matters? And Ricardo raised his voice. Bianca, as she continued, from what I heard in the hall, the others also thought you and Lady Maria made a good match, and Ricardo paused before asking quietly, is that why you were with Assel? Ricardo said, is that why you were with Assel? And Bianca replied, His Royal Highness was just poking fun at you. You know how he is. Besides, I didn't pick an escort because I knew I'd be busy as the host of the party, but he said that doesn't change the fact that you ostracized me and ran off with Assel. If I had known, I never would have agreed to be her escort. How could you send your fiancé to a random woman only to spend the evening with another man? And she snapped back, huh? You're making it sound like I cheated on you or something. To which he replied, well, this is a very unpleasant situation. And she said, I beg your pardon. While thinking, is he getting angry at me right now? If only he knew how much I've been holding back. Then he said, why are you acting this way, Bianca? I thought I made my feelings clear, and she asked, what feelings? As he said, don't pretend like you don't understand. I told you that I like you. You're the woman I have feelings for, and I wish to marry you. But she replied, well, I don't love you back, making him freeze. What? And she continued, you may have taken a liking to me, but do you love me? Can you get on your knees right now and swear on your life that you love me? And he said, swear on my life. Bianca, I don't understand where this is coming from. I can't just bet my life on something on a whim, much less. And she softly said, I see, as he panicked, no. Wait, Bianca, and grabbed her saying, Bianca, I have feelings for you. You are the most special woman that I have ever met. And above all, I wish to be the one by your side, closer to you than anyone else. Isn't this what you call love? But she replied, Ricardo, please don't do this, while thinking, I wonder what would have happened if I truly loved Ricardo. I probably would have tried to be with him regardless of what the book said. I wouldn't have been afraid of dying, but the fact that I can't means I'm no different from him. Because I chose to abandon him to spare my own life, and she said firmly, we don't love each other, thinking, I'm afraid this is how our relationship ends. Then later Bianca asked Emily, did anything happen while I was away? And Emily said, my lady. While Bianca asked, where's Maria? And Emily hesitated, well, the truth is, but Kate interrupted, she needs to know her place. And another lady added, oh my, she really has zero class. She's just shamelessly clinging onto her position. As Maria quietly said, and Kate snapped, did you say something, Dash? But Bianca stepped in, yes, I did, making Kate flinch. Lady Bianca, and Bianca greeted calmly, long time no see, Lady Kate. Are you all enjoying yourselves? And Kate replied, why, of course. House Crawford never disappoints. What a magnificent ball indeed. And Bianca said, I'm honored. But did I hear commotion? And Kate quickly denied, no, we were just having a friendly chat. But I must comment on this truly disgraceful matter. That illegitimate country bumpkin has no shame. How dare she bat her eyelashes at a man who's already taken? This must have been so hard for you, Lady Bianca. At least she won't feign ignorance anymore. If she has any shame, she won't dare play tricks in front of Lord Wynkaiser's fiancé, while Bianca thought, Kate Conwells, the daughter of Count Conwells. She's always accompanied by her clique. To put it nicely, she's a good source of information. I'd say she's quite useful. She's been so handy that I maintained my relationship with her, but she made an unexpected mistake, and Kate stuttered, Lady Bianca, as Bianca thought Maria wasn't supposed to know about our engagement. Because if she knew, she wouldn't have wanted anything to do with him. Then she said, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was the one who asked Ricardo to escort Lady Maria, making Kate go, huh? As Assel suddenly said, have I seemed anxious to you, Lady Kate? And Kate panicked, I beg your pardon. No, you're always flawless. But Bianca continued, perhaps you assumed there was a discord between Ricardo and me due to my shortcomings, and Kate quickly denied, not at all. That thought has never crossed my mind. So Bianca pressed, really? Then, did you think Ricardo Wynkaiser was someone who would betray my trust by falling for another woman? And Kate immediately panicked, no, of course not. I made a big mistake. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disgrace either of you. And Bianca replied, is that right? Then I must have misunderstood as well. And Kate bowed, not at all. I'm just sorry for causing you concern. We'd Best be going, and Bianca said calmly, sure, I hope you enjoy yourselves, while thinking, now, how do I fix this? Then she turned to Maria and said, Lady Maria, can we talk for a moment? Bianca thought, there goes my plan. Nothing ever goes my way. Then she called out, Maria, and Maria replied, Lady Bianca, Khan, while Bianca wondered, Khan, and Maria suddenly said, congratulations on your engagement, making Bianca react, huh? Maria, as Maria panicked, I said it. Did I say that weird? And Bianca thought, yes, while Maria explained, I've always struggled with the intonations. I even got scolded for it. Anyway, so you were engaged to Lord Wynkaiser. I know I'm late, but it's only right that I offer you my congratulations. And Bianca thought, I'll only make things worse if I make excuses now, before saying, yes, you wouldn't have known since I didn't tell you. But Maria quickly replied, but I didn't hide it from you on purpose. It seemed like you wanted Lord Wynkaiser as your escort, and I wanted your one and only debutante to be as magnificent as possible, and Bianca said, I just missed the right timing. If I told you later, I thought you might agonize over it and ruin your debutante, but Maria grabbed her hand and said, but Lady Bianca, I'm so happy. That was the best debutante ever, and Bianca called softly, Maria, then asked, don't you resent me? And Maria blinked, for what? As Bianca said, if it weren't for me, you and Ricardo would've. But Maria suddenly exclaimed, oh my goodness. Lady Bianca. Oh my goodness. Lady Bianca, and continued, I must admit, Ricardo is the most ideal and charming man I've ever met. He's an admirable knight who helps others without expecting anything in return, but I harbor no resentment. If I told you I had feelings for your fiancé, you would have been terribly upset, but you put all that aside and tried to create good memories for me instead. I like you even more now. Then Bianca looked over and said, Ricardo, and Ricardo asked, is there anything more I should do? And she replied, no. Thank you for doing this for us. So he asked, do you have anything to say to me? And Bianca said, no, making him respond, then I'll be going. While Maria added, it looks like there's been a misunderstanding. I hope you can talk it out. And Bianca thought, misunderstanding? Sure, you could call it that. Mistakenly thought I was in love with him, then said, we don't love each other, thinking, and it was about time that I cleared up the misunderstanding, when Reinhard arrived and said, Maria? Lady Bianca, here you are, and Bianca greeted Lord Wensbury. As Reinhard said, I'm only here, because I was worried about Maria. I heard there was a bit of a commotion, and Bianca replied, yes, you must have been concerned, but he said, it seems like those ladies have gone home. I think, and Bianca suddenly interrupted, oh my goodness, would you look at the time? I totally forgot. I'd better inform our guests that we'll be wrapping up soon, and Reinhard went, oh, while Maria called Lady Bianca, thank you for everything. See you soon, and Bianca thought, I really can't bring myself to hate her, then answered, yes, see you again soon, after which Bianca sat reading and muttered, not this either. I clearly saw it glow earlier, thinking, is it because I've grown closer to Maria? I thought our relationship was bound to turn sour. A selfish and vile woman, who doesn't hesitate to kill, but suddenly Maria shouted, Bianca Crawford, and Bianca said, this is a misunderstanding. Your mother, thinking Bianca's life came to an end. Before she could finish telling her side of the story, I died again. Maria's mother. Why are they bringing her up again? Then she reread it and thought Maria wanted revenge. The person who killed her mother was none other than me. Last time, Maria killed me so she could have Ricardo to herself. So I was kind to her to prevent that from happening. But now that Maria likes me, the story changed. She kills me to avenge her mother's death. The story is the same after that. After I die, Maria stays by Ricardo's side to comfort him. No, there's no way. That doesn't make any sense. I would never kill anyone. I'm always a villainess in the book, but even I said it was a misunderstanding. Someone killed Maria's mother and framed me for it. A misunderstanding that turns sweet Maria into a vengeful monster. Is it because she's naive? The reason why she doesn't fit into high society isn't because of her lack of table manners or her illegitimate status. It's because she never learned how to be cunning. In a world where nobles are always fighting over power, she's the type to believe anything she's told. And I took advantage of that to win her over. Then there's only one way. It doesn't matter who's plotting against me as long as I give Maria no reason to misunderstand. Starting today, I'm not setting foot within a 3-block radius of Maria's mother's hospital, but then Maria called, "Huh? Is that you, Lady Bianca? I didn't expect to see you here," and Bianca replied, "How do you do, Lady Maria?" "Oh, I see you have company. Is that?" And Maria said, "Yes. This is my mother," while Bianca thought I ended up meeting her, and her mother greeted, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Lady Bianca." As Bianca said, "I didn't mean for this to happen." Bianca thought some things are written and inevitable. Although the final page of the book is changing, in the end, it seems decided that I will face my death. There's no way to stay completely uninvolved. I have to be natural friendly and try not to cause any misunderstandings. I should probably introduce myself, but Maria's mother suddenly said, "You must be Lady Bianca Crawford," and Bianca replied, "Do you know me?" As Maria's mother smiled and said, "Yes, Maria talked about you every single day. She wouldn't stop praising you, about what a fine young lady you are. I've heard that it's thanks to you that I could receive treatment at this hospital. Isn't today's event a charity event hosted by House Crawford as well?" And Bianca answered, "Yes, that's right. It's usually Marquis and Marchioness Crawford who attend, but they were summoned by the Imperial Palace, so I came in their stead," while Maria added, "The nurse explained it to us earlier. She said you hold this event once a year like a festival," and Bianca explained, "The nobles gather for a tea party in the reception hall, while commoners enjoy the street vendors out in the garden," and Maria exclaimed, "House Crawford is such an admirable family. All three of you are so passionate about charity work," and Bianca replied, "You're too kind," though she thought they must not know that these events are more of an obligation for us to maintain face and display our influence. Then she added, "But this is my first time here. My parents always came on their own," and Maria quickly asked, "Oh, then would you like to accompany us?" making Bianca react, "I beg your pardon? Me?" As Maria's mother said, "It looks like there are lots of delicious foods and fun things to do. We'll have a great time." But Bianca hesitated, "That's all right," while thinking, "Wait a minute. I probably shouldn't be apart from Maria right now. If an accident happens, our family will be blamed for the hospital's negligence. So what I have to do is," and she said, "Sure. I'll accompany you. It'd be nice to hear your thoughts about the event," thinking, "I'm going to protect Maria's mother from danger. This is also my chance to ask her all about her living conditions." At the mansion, Empress Mayim Cartagento said, "Marquis and Marchioness Crawford, I'd like to give you one last chance. A chance for Lady Bianca to join the imperial family," and the Marchioness replied, "My deepest apologies, Your Majesty. I thought we put the marriage talks with His Highness to rest 10 years ago," but Mayim said, "Yes, but there's been an interesting rumor going around. I heard Ricardo Wynkaiser escorted another lady at the last charity ball you hosted. And I heard Lady Bianca seemed indifferent. Rumor has it that the two may be parting ways," and the Marquis quickly denied, "That's not true. We've been engaging in marriage talks with House Wynkaiser up until recently," but the Empress continued, "You never know with young ones these days. I'm making this request in the name of the imperial family, but don't feel pressured. If she declines, I'll back down. I simply ask that Lady Bianca pays the Crown Prince a visit. Also, you should reconsider for your daughter's sake. The honorable position as Crown Princess is still available if she wants it. I hope you don't have any dietary restrictions." Back at the hospital, Maria's mother happily said, "Fortunately, I was able to enjoy the good food provided. I even get to enjoy some treats with Maria today," and Bianca replied, "I see," thinking, "Is House Wensbury depriving you of food, Maria?" But Maria explained, "She does have one allergy, but it's not food. She's allergic to cats and dogs. Luckily, there aren't any at the hospital," and her mother laughed, "They're adorable though." "What a shame." Haha, and Bianca said, "They are," thinking, "Nice. That sounded natural. Let's keep this up." Then she asked, "Has your condition improved?" And the mother replied, "Yes, I feel a lot better now. There was a time when I could barely even walk." So Bianca suggested, "Then you must go out often with Lady Maria." But Maria said, "Oh, that'd be nice, but she struggles to walk long distances." I don't have much time either, and her mother added, so I go out by myself when Maria's not here, making Maria panic. You do? And Bianca thought, you go out by yourself? As the mother pointed, do you see that over there? There's a church right next to the hospital. I walk over there to offer my prayers, and Bianca said, wouldn't it be better to be accompanied by someone than to walk alone? But she replied, there are many people in that area. I can ask for help if I need it. The nuns are very attentive as well, and Bianca said, I'm relieved to hear that, though she thought that sounds good enough. Then the hospital director arrived and said, Lady Bianca, here you are, I finally found you. I expected you to come upstairs. I apologize for not getting here sooner, explaining, I am the director of St. Lumenica Hospital. Is there a problem with the festival? And Bianca replied, Director? Is there a problem with the festival? But he said, oh, not at all. The festival is going smoothly on both sides. But I noticed you were roaming through the street vendors, so I came to ask if everything's all right, and Bianca thought, all right? I took a look around, but I didn't see any problems. You said you prepared a separate menu for those with dietary restrictions, right? And he confirmed, yes, of course. But there are many common. I mean, it's very crowded here with children running around, and Bianca thought, if you put it that way, Maria is a noble, too. Wait, does she hide her identity when she visits her mother? At that moment Maria called, don't rub too hard, and her mother replied, but it's all over your face, while Bianca said, Maggie Maria. I should go and check on the tea party. As the host, I'm afraid I have no choice, and Maria answered, of course, Lady Bianca. We'll see you later, as Bianca thought, I knew it. This is why I didn't want to meet her. The book didn't even mention Maggie Vallona's name. Her name, her voice, even her existence were absent in the book, because she was an extra, so she ordered, Panya, stay here with Maria and Maggie. Make sure they don't get into any accidents. Report back to me later, and Panya replied, yes, my lady, while Bianca thought, that book doesn't know anything. What a joke. How can a living person be an extra? I'd better tell the hospital to be extra careful not to make mistakes. I'll just give them a hefty donation. I'll even hire 2 bodyguards to protect her at all times. If Maggie lives, Maria won't have a motive to kill me anymore. I won't let Maggie die. Later Maria said, I see. There was an event this afternoon, and Maggie replied, yes. The big garden was full of street sellers from different regions. It was an enjoyable event, but Maria noticed, oh no. You're coughing. Are you sure you didn't overexert yourself? Here, I just brewed some tea. Drink it while it's warm, and Maggie said, oh, you should have asked me to do it. Thank you, as Maria smiled. Just focus on getting better. Anyway, Maggie. About what we talked about last time, and Maggie responded, oh, sure. Where did we leave off? Marquis said, oh my word. What's all this? Madeleines and cookies. These are my favorite, and added that it had been so long since they had all had tea together, so she had ordered them ahead of time. Then Bianca said, here, father. Have these later in your study, and the Marquis said, wow, you remember all of my favorites. Bianca replied, word has it that this bakery is delicious, and the Marquis said, yes, I've heard about it as well. It's called Angela's Bakery, right? I heard they only accept orders in advance. Bianca said, that's right. If you like them, I'll put in another order next time. Bianca thought that she instantly felt down whenever she read, that she used to love reading books with a cup of her favorite tea, but ever since she read that book, she couldn't bring herself to pick up another book. And she even stayed up all night last night checking to see if anything else changed in the story, while Marquis called Bianca, and Bianca thought that if she didn't die in the book, she might just end up dying from stress. And Marquis said, are you listening to me, Bianca? And Bianca said, I beg your pardon? And Marquis said, oh my, did I startle you? You weren't answering me. And Bianca said, sorry about that. I got distracted. Marquis said that she had been looking thin and pale lately and asked if something was the matter, and Bianca said, no, not particularly. And Marquis asked if she was feeling ill and said she was worried about her, and Bianca quickly said, I'm all right. I just had trouble sleeping last night. What were we talking about again? And Marquis said, the truth is, the Empress summoned us recently. Bianca reacted, the Empress, and at that moment a butler knocked and said, Your Royal Highness. Lady Bianca Crawford has arrived. Assel said, Bianca. Welcome, and Bianca said, Greetings, Your Highness. It's an honor to, but Assel cut in, come on in. What would you like to eat? Your favorite cookies? Cake? You know what? Just bring everything, and Bianca said, Yes, Your Royal Highness. Assel then said, I know. My mother sent you, right? And Bianca replied, Yes, I told her that I must respectfully decline. Assel said, That's all right. Have a seat, Bianca. This is going to be a long chat. First, let me apologize. A request is something that should be made directly to the person involved. So if that's how my mother delivered the message, it was probably more on notice. Bianca said she was surprised when she heard about it and that her mother and father were shocked as well, and Assel said, Of course. Our marriage talks were already broken off 10 years ago. Bianca said, I apologize. That was, and Assel asked, Why are you apologizing? Because you turned me down? Or is it because you shouted? And in the past Bianca had said, I don't want to marry you, and Assel continued, Right in my face? Bianca said, Cut it out, Assel, and Assel replied, Hey, that's not fair. I know I said I'd grant you a wish if you called me by my name, but this is cheating. Bianca said she was quite skilled at navigating social situations, and Assel said he expected nothing less, then continued, Anyway, Lady Bianca. I hear you've grown distant from Lord Wynkaiser lately. Bianca asked, Who told you that? And Assel said the rumor had already spread, and he had a feeling ever since he snatched her away at the ball. Bianca said, That's fair. Assel asked if she really grew apart, and Bianca said, There's no problem between me and Ricardo. Our relationship is still the same. Assel replied, Really? That's not good. Bianca asked, I beg your pardon, and Assel said, That's not good at all. Your relationship shouldn't be the same after 10 years of being engaged. Bianca said, Don't you think? Maintaining stability after all this time is also remarkable. Assel asked if she knew why he hadn't given up on her even though she was engaged, saying her relationship wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either, and he didn't sense any love, longing, or passion between them. Saying he had watched them for the last 10 years and that he didn't get his hopes up unless he had a chance, that he had always believed his opportunity would come, and Bianca said, Assel, and Assel said, Victory Day is just around the corner. The favor that the Empress wanted to ask you is for you to take on the duty of knighting at the ceremony. Bianca said, I beg your pardon. That should be the responsibility of the imperial family. And Assel replied, The imperial family is granting you the authority, so what does it matter? Besides, you even have the status of a knight commander's fiancé. That's not how people will perceive it. They'll think of it as a declaration that I will be appointed as crown princess. That's not all. It will lead to all sorts of false rumors about your relationship. But Bianca, I want all of that to happen. Let me be honest. I want to steal you away from Ricardo. Bianca thought that maybe this was her chance. The book that was leading her down the inevitable path to death was about a villainess who was greedy for Ricardo's love. But if she were to break free from that mold, perhaps her curse would be broken, and she'd be able to escape death. And Assel said, Bianca? What are you thinking? And Bianca said, You'll have to confront House Wynkaiser. Assel reacted, Huh? Are you really considering this? I'm so happy. Don't worry. We'll hold the family accountable for neglecting their son's fiancé, Bianca said, Assel. And Assel added that at the same time Ricardo was his friend, and he wouldn't want to antagonize him. Then Bianca asked, What if we do this? And Assel said his mother was planning to spread the rumor that the crown princess had been chosen, that he would stop her by telling her it was too early, and then at the ceremony they would proclaim that Bianca was attending as the knight commander's lady. Bianca asked, Can we do that? Wouldn't that eliminate the whole point of asking me for this favor? And Assel said he had waited for her for 10 years and didn't mind waiting a little longer. Bianca thought perhaps this was the love she'd always dreamed of, a passionate romance of wholehearted devotion, and wished Ricardo was like this, then said, Then it's a deal, okay? And finally Bianca thought, I'm sorry, Assel. Anyone else but me would give you the love you deserve. Bianca was reading letters when she opened one and read, Dear Lady Bianca Crawford. We humbly ask that you attend alongside Lord Wynkaiser, if you may grace us with your presence. And she said, Next. Then she read another letter. Dear Lady Bianca Crawford and Lord Ricardo Wynkaiser, Lady Bianca, if Lord Wynkaiser is available. And she said, what's gotten into all of them? Am I not good enough on my own? Great. Now that's all I can notice in these letters. She thought that it was only natural for everyone to assume they would attend events together since they had been engaged for so long. But she still said aloud, but there aren't many events going on. Is it because Victory Day is just around the corner? She then thought that Ricardo hadn't contacted her since the ball, that they had never gone this long without talking, and that he normally would have told her he was busy preparing for Victory Day as Knight Commander, but instead he had left that night without saying a single word, making her wonder if he was thinking about breaking off the engagement, though she also felt a strange unease as she said, let's see, it's an invitation from Lady Conwell's, and began reading, Dear Lady Bianca Crawford, I'm sorry about what happened at the ball. I failed to recognize your deep intentions and made rash remarks, which probably made you feel very uncomfortable. I'd like to extend my sincere apology by inviting you to my tea party. You can attend, and she thought, why is it so long? Lady Conwell's, remembering she had given her a hard time at the ball, she concluded it was better not to make an enemy and said, thank you for your invitation. I'll be sure to attend, all done. Then she called, Panya, are you there? And Panya answered, did you call, my lady? And Bianca said, I'm heading over to Sparta Orphanage. Help me get ready, and Panya replied, yes, my lady. While Bianca thought that she had checked right after receiving Assel's proposal, but the ending still hadn't changed, wondering if nothing had happened yet, and thinking she would find out soon enough as Panya announced, my lady, I've prepared your dress, and Bianca replied, yes, thank you, while Panya nervously said, I don't know if I can accept this much. At the orphanage, while having tea, Bianca said she had hosted a ball recently and turned it into a charity ball for the orphanage. And the director said, does that mean this is all for us? I'm much obliged, and Bianca replied, you don't have to be so modest. I think of you as a very trustworthy person, and when the director asked if she meant him, she said that some people become blinded by greed when receiving donations for the first time, but that he was doing a great job. And the director replied he was only doing what he was supposed to do, while Bianca asked about her request for hiring a teacher, and the director said they had hired one immediately and classes were ongoing 4 times a week, with all the children now able to read and write their names, making Bianca say they should know how to write their own names going forward. But she was interrupted when a knock came and the butler announced, are you here, director? I'm just dropping by, and the director realized, Lord Wynkaiser. I heard you were busy. What brings you all the way here? And Ricardo said, oh, as Bianca said she had something to discuss with him and asked if he had time, and Ricardo immediately said, you'll assume the duty of knighting on Victory Day. And Bianca said she understood if he was angry, but asked him not to raise his voice because the children might hear. But Ricardo said he hadn't said anything yet and questioned if she accepted knowing what it meant, assuming it was connected to her saying she wanted to break off the engagement. But Bianca firmly said, how many times do I have to tell you that Assel has nothing to do with calling off the engagement? And Ricardo replied he couldn't see it any other way, while Bianca explained that the Empress was trying to rekindle marriage talks between Assel and her, which shocked him as he said, what? How could she believe such a ridiculous rumor? And Bianca thought that meant there was nothing wrong between them, but before anything more could be said, Lala burst in saying, Your Royal Highness. Look, Your Royal Highness. I can write my own name now, and the director panicked, but Bianca happily said, oh my. That's fantastic, while Ricardo stepped in and said, Lala, you know how to write your name already, and when Lala proudly said yes and offered to show him, he agreed, saying they would look after her, and as Lala showed her writing, Bianca praised her, saying she had even drawn flowers and stars, while Ricardo suddenly said he was proving there was no discord between them, and Lala excitedly struggled through names like Peter and Nicole, while asking to write Bianca's name too, and realizing she had never told her, Bianca said, it's Bianca. Bianca Crawford, as Lala tried to write it and struggled with Crawford, saying it would be easier if she were BB, which Bianca rejected, encouraging her to keep practicing and promising a reward, and finally Ricardo said, "Bianca, since you've already agreed to the knighting ceremony, it can't be helped, but I have one condition. After the ceremony, I will escort you to the ball. I don't want any false rumors going around, and above all, I'm your one and only partner. Just like I've always been." Victory Day, Splendor Empire, which engaged in frequent wars with neighboring countries, solidified its power by claiming victory in the final war that ended 5 years ago, and in hopes of lasting peace. The emperor designated Victory Day as an official holiday, honored his loyal subjects for their service, and held a festival for the imperial citizens, while Bianca said, "Maybe it's because my hometown of Enchini is so remote," and Maria said, "I've never heard of anyone taking Victory Day so seriously." Bianca replied that Maria's hometown was far from where the war took place and that the impact was likely minimal, adding that she might be more familiar with Foundation Day since Victory Day was mainly celebrated in the capital, and telling her to see it for herself since it was where past achievements were honored, also reminding her that as a family who contributed to the war, House Wensbury should pay respects to His Majesty, which made Maria panic, saying, "Wens? Oh, including me? Does that mean I'll meet the Emperor? Wait, the Empress too? How could I possibly? What do I do?" And Bianca calmly said, "Calm down, Lady Maria. That's why I'm here to help you," and Maria quickly agreed, asking what to do first, to which Bianca answered, "Dress shopping," leaving Maria shocked, while Bianca rejected outfits one after another, saying, "Not that color. Next," and sounds like a hassle. "Next, even snapping, are you kidding? Why do you carry this dress in the first place? Get that out of my sight," before suddenly choosing one and saying, "I like it. Let's go with this one," despite Maria worrying it was too flashy, as Bianca insisted it could even be more extravagant, but still suggested a neat and tidy look suited Maria better, warning that they shouldn't go overboard due to rumors about her background, while also asking Maria if she would pick a dress too, but revealing she had already chosen hers and selecting multiple pieces without even trying them on, saying she knew her size, which impressed Maria as the shop staff praised Bianca's taste, and Maria decided to wear it to Lady Conwell's tea party, which made Bianca confirm the order, while Maria nervously asked about Lady Conwell's, and Bianca confirmed she was the same woman who had been rude at the ball, prompting Maria to apologize, but Bianca told her that nobles must navigate power struggles carefully and not blindly trust or oppose factions, explaining that rumors and reputation were everything in high society, that Lady Conwell's both loved and spread gossip and had built her influence that way, shocking Maria when she learned she ranked higher due to her official adoption, though Bianca advised her to stay on good terms with Lady Conwell's despite the bad first impression, while Maria confessed she had wanted to retaliate. And Bianca thought it was understandable but warned that antagonizing her would lead to constant criticism, stressing that maintaining composure in public was key to surviving high society, after which Maria accepted and the maid left, leaving Maria overwhelmed in her room, thinking how soft and vast everything was, until Bianca invited her to the bakery, saying she had extra cookies and that Maria should try them and order next time, hoping sweets would wash away her bad thoughts. While Maria reflected that life as a noble was tough, but not all bad because she had grown closer to Bianca, praising her kindness and wanting to become like her, though a lady corrected her perception of Bianca, claiming House Crawford was dignified, practical, and logical across generations, which made Maria silently disagree, convinced Bianca was different from other nobles, remembering children insulting her and her struggling to make friends, resolving to try harder so she would not bring shame to Bianca, while elsewhere nobles gossiped about Maria's background, her mother being a maid, and her rising status, mocking her and questioning her place, until finally someone mentioned Bianca. And Bianca said, "Well, I don't sympathize with everything you said, but I agree with most of it." Kate said, "Oh my, Lady Bianca," and Bianca said, "How do you do, Lady Kate?" Kate said, "Thank you so much for coming," and Bianca replied, "It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me." Kate said, "You look absolutely beautiful today, Lady Bianca." Just look at that dress. You look like a divine rose, and Bianca said, you look fabulous as well, Lady Kate. You're shining brilliantly, just like the fine weather today. Kate said, oh my, you're too kind. Bianca then called, over here, Panya, and Panya replied, yes, my lady, and Bianca said, it's not much. But I brought you a small gift as a token of my appreciation, and Kate exclaimed, are these cookies from Angela's bakery? Look how pretty they are. I wasn't able to buy any because they weren't taking any more orders. Did you get these just for us? And Bianca said, yes, I did. I was excited to spend the day with such beautiful young ladies. And Kate said, oh my. You shouldn't have. While Bianca thought to keep the compliments coming, that although Kate was the host, she herself was the star of the party, and that this was exactly how it was supposed to feel, as Kate then invited everyone to sit. While Bianca thought she must not forget she was attending a gathering for wives of mere viscounts and barons, and that they should be used to her advantage as she would use them too, as Kate admired the garden and Lady commented on House Conwell's gardener. But Kate clarified she was referring to the young ladies gathered, which made Bianca feel tired as she already knew the conversation would be about fashion, skincare, trends, neighboring kingdoms, and dresses at recent events, none of which interested her. Thinking they would end up looking like identical mannequins, while she absent-mindedly thought about a viscount's daughter and how hard it must be to suck up to Lady Conwell's at that age, and noticing someone's dress didn't suit her, she drifted further into thoughts about Lala, imagining her growing up beautifully and becoming capable of anything she wanted, until Kate suddenly said, don't you agree, Lady Bianca? And Bianca snapped back, I beg your pardon, realizing she hadn't heard anything, and quickly said, well, I don't sympathize with everything you said, but I agree with most of it, which made Kate happily respond, see? I knew Lady Bianca would agree with us, while Milton added agreement as well, and Bianca smiled politely, thinking she doubted anything important was said, but as long as they were happy she needed to leave soon. When suddenly she heard children playing as Lala shouted, Maria, you're it, and Maria reacted, what? No time to talk. You have to run. Lala then called, caught you, and suddenly Bianca said, what are you doing here, Maria? And Maria asked, my lady. Are you all right? While Lala exclaimed, it's Princess Bianca, and greeted her excitedly as Maria also greeted her, and Lala asked them to play, but Bianca said she was a bit busy and only came to drop off gifts for the children. So Maria decided to take the children to wash hands while Lala eagerly asked about gifts, and Bianca offered cookies, asking Lala to wash her hands so they could eat together, which made Lala excitedly run off, while Maria said she would help. And Bianca thanked her, but then Ricardo arrived, saying, Bianca, and she replied, Ricardo, as he asked if she was all right and said she didn't look well, while she told Panya to bring cake and cookies inside, then asked Ricardo why he wasn't busy, and he said she never answered his request, leading her to recall the interrupted moment. And she said she couldn't promise she wouldn't be Assel's escort to the ball if the imperial family asked, which made Ricardo shout no. Bianca, why do you always? But he was interrupted by Lala yelling, stop fighting, and ordering them to make up, hug, and apologize, forcing them into an awkward reconciliation. After which Ricardo hugged Bianca and said he loved discovering new sides of her but felt anxious because she seemed like she might fly away, promising to become someone worthy of standing beside her and asking her not to mention other men in front of him. There was a hustle and bustle in the street as a lady grabbed a man's hand and the man said, you, long time no see, and they hugged while the lady said, don't even get me started. I haven't seen you in 3 days. I missed you to death, and the man replied, I missed you too. I felt like I was withering away without you. Then he added, I have good news. I'm finally going to be knighted on Victory Day, and the lady said, really? You did it. Didn't you say you were helping out with a job? I thought rookie knights were supposed to stay inside the dormitory, but he explained, don't worry. He took care of everything. He told me to train with the Knight's Order during the day and stay at Viscount Harrington's residence at night. But I'm not sure why, and the lady said, shoo. Don't ask questions. People like him always look at the big picture. All we have to do is follow orders and collect the reward that falls into our lap. While elsewhere, Bianca said, "Shall we take a break before we head inside?" And Maggie replied, "That'd be great." I'm a little out of breath, and Maria said, "Anyway, Victory Day is right around the corner. I might not be able to come every day because I'll be busy with preparations." And Maggie invited, "Have a seat, Lady Bianca." But Bianca refused politely and spoke about how it was a special event and how Maria of House Wensbury would pay her respects at the Imperial Palace, which made Maggie gasp, while Maria panicked, saying, "I'm so nervous. I know I'm just going to pay my respects. But what if I trip over my own feet or hiccup really loudly?" And Maggie reassured her, while Bianca thought her imagination was very vivid, and then Maggie suddenly mentioned she was out of yarn, leading Maria to offer to buy more, while Maggie revealed she was knitting a scarf for Bianca, surprising her, and saying she wanted to repay her kindness and that her mother was excellent at knitting, even bragging that the Lord of Enchany used to visit every winter for gifts and that she made most of Maria's childhood winter clothes, recalling the bear hat, which made Maria react loudly, while Maggie explained it was a wool cap with ears like a bear and that Maria even wore it in spring drenched in sweat, and Maria insisted she was little, but Bianca commented she must have been stubborn as a child, leading Maggie to begin a strange story about fairies and saying she had given the hat to a fairy who promised to watch over Maria, making Maria emotional, until Maggie laughed and admitted she had actually hidden the hat herself, revealing it was all a trick, while Maria protested in embarrassment, and the conversation continued lightheartedly until suddenly a man said, "What a beautiful day." There's not a cloud in sight, and Bianca thought her undercover soldiers were confirming no unusual activity, while Maria called her inside, and Bianca felt relieved Maggie was safe. But then noble attendants arrived saying, "How do you do, my lady? We are here on behalf of Crown Prince Acelblant Cartagento, delivering gifts and a letter," and Bianca read, "Dearest Lady Bianca Crawford," but stopped herself, thinking she would report him to the Empress, while Acel's letter mentioned dresses for the knighting ceremony, his personal gifts, and that she would be the most beautiful woman there, which irritated Bianca as she called him cringy. Though she noted the dress was pink, her favorite color, with rare gems and perfect sizing, clearly custom-made, and she ordered her maid to replace her original outfit with his gifts for Victory Day. Then later Ricardo arrived saying, "This is for you, Bianca," handing her a wrapped gift while apologizing for the crinkled ribbon, and Bianca analyzed it as a custom brooch meant to enhance simple outfits, thinking he must have insisted stubbornly on its creation, while Ricardo said, "Bianca, I think this will suit you very well," and as both Ricardo and Acel called her name in her thoughts, she wondered why they kept doing this to her, insisting her answer would not change, and finally said coldly, "How foolish."
Thank you so much for watching. I hope this romantic journey made your heart flutter just like mine. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss another love-filled episode. And don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts. I love reading what you think about the story. Your support means the world. See you in the next romantic adventure.